Imagine a world where a single injection could wipe out the deadliest cancers. No endless rounds of chemotherapy, no hair loss, no days wasted in hospital wards. This week, headlines around the globe are promising just that. But is it real hope, or just the latest hype from Big Pharma? At the heart of these promises is Gilead Sciences, a company making waves with its bold claims and new data presented at two of the biggest cancer conferences, ASCO and EHA 2025. With more than 20 studies covering some of humanity's greatest medical battles, breast cancer, multiple myeloma, even the notoriously lethal glioblastoma, the buzz is impossible to ignore. Are we witnessing the dawn of a cancer revolution, or are we on the brink of another disappointment? Let's take a hard look at what's actually happening behind those press releases, and what this means for millions of lives. Cancer is not just a disease, it's a global economic force, one that drains nearly $2 trillion from the world economy every year in lost productivity and healthcare costs. That number is only rising as the global population ages and lifestyles change. For decades, the standard weapons against cancer, chemotherapy, surgery, radiotherapy, have been both blunt and brutal. The side effects are infamous, and the survival odds, especially for aggressive cancers, have barely budged for years. But technology does not stand still. Over the past decade, the world of oncology has been transformed by powerful new ideas. Immunotherapy, training the body's own immune system to destroy cancer cells, has rapidly become the frontier of cancer research. New classes of therapies like antibody-drug conjugates and CAR T-cells have the potential to change everything about how, and even if, we survive cancer. Gilead's 2025 presentations are the latest chapter in this story. Their main weapon, Trodelvy, known to scientists as sacituzumab govitecan. It's a so-called antibody-drug conjugate. Think of it as a smart bomb that seeks out cancer cells, latches on, and delivers a dose of toxic chemotherapy directly to its target. This approach is designed to maximize the destruction of tumors while minimizing collateral damage to healthy cells. Trodelvy's new data is making waves because it's targeting one of the most aggressive and feared breast cancers, triple-negative breast cancer, or TNBC. TNBC makes up 15% of all breast cancer cases but is far more common among younger women, especially those who are Black or Hispanic. What makes TNBC so terrifying is that it lacks the typical targets other breast cancers have, making it much harder to treat and more likely to return. In the landmark ASCENT-04 trial, Gilead scientists combined Trodelvy with a well-known immunotherapy, Keytruda, pembrolizumab, and pitted this duo against standard chemotherapy in patients with advanced, inoperable TNBC whose tumors express PD-L1, a marker that makes them eligible for immunotherapy. The results? Statistically significant and clinically meaningful improvements in progression-free survival, the time during which the cancer stays under control. Dr. Dietmar Berger, Chief Medical Officer of Gilead, declared in front of a packed conference room, "By addressing this aggressive and difficult-to-treat disease earlier, we can potentially improve treatment options." It's hard not to feel a glimmer of hope hearing words like these. But let's hit pause for a moment. Progression-free survival is an important measure, but it's not the only one that counts. Patients and families want to know if these therapies truly lengthen lives, and at what cost to their quality of life. The question hanging in the air, are these advances a real step toward a cure, or just a slightly longer detour on a cruel journey? Meanwhile, Gilead's subsidiary Kite is doubling down on another big idea, cell therapy. Here, the star is CAR T-cell therapy, with research presented on a dual-target approach for brain cancer, specifically recurrent glioblastoma. This is a cancer that kills by the thousands, often in mere months. Scientists at the University of Pennsylvania have engineered immune cells to attack not one but two targets, EGFR and IL-13RA2, potentially slipping past the cancer's best defenses. The preliminary results? Hopeful, but early. The field is watching closely. And then, there's the blood cancer front. At the EHA Congress, Kite and its partner Arcellx are sharing new findings from the IMAGINE-1 study of anitocabtagene autoleucel, anito-cel for short, a next-generation CAR T-cell therapy for patients with relapsed or refractory multiple myeloma. The numbers captured headlines, a 97% overall response rate, and a striking 68% of patients seeing their cancer essentially disappear. Rami Elghandor, chairman and CEO of Arcellx, didn't mince words. There remains an unmet medical need for CAR T therapies that are efficacious, safe, and accessible. In other words, the bar is high and the need is urgent. But as with every breakthrough, the devil is in the details. What does a 97% response rate really mean when many of these patients have already exhausted all other options? How durable are these responses? How long do remissions last? Can patients handle the side effects? And perhaps the most sobering question of all, is it possible to deliver such cutting-edge treatments to the millions who need them, not just the privileged few? The economics are daunting. CAR T-cell therapy is notoriously complex and expensive, often running into hundreds of thousands of dollars per patient. Manufacturing personalized cell products takes time, expertise, and infrastructure that few hospitals can offer. The prospect of commercializing anito-cel by 2026 is causing a stir among physicians and investors alike. Could this finally bring advanced cell therapy to the mainstream, or will its sky-high cost put it out of reach? Meanwhile, the pipeline at Gilead and Kite is brimming with other promising candidates. From Kite 363, a dual-target CAR T solution for blood cancers, to a raft of collaborative studies, the next few years could see a flood of new data and hopeful headlines. But for every new therapy, there's a recurring question. Are we truly on track to transform cancer care for everyone, or are these advances destined to widen the gap between those who can access next-generation treatments and those left behind? Dr. Javier Cortez of the International Breast Cancer Center offers a sober reminder. Traditional chemotherapy has been the standard of care for early treatment of metastatic triple-negative breast cancer. The implication? Everything hinges on whether these new approaches can actually outperform decades-old treatments in the real world. And with every data release, investors and patient advocates are forced to separate marketing spin from genuine progress. It's not just about how many months a drug adds to survival stats, but about who benefits, at what cost, and for how long. As the medical world scrutinizes Gilead's results, whispers of both optimism and skepticism ripple through the halls of ASCO and EHA. Is this the long-promised leap forward, or simply another incremental advance dressed up for Wall Street? Before we jump to conclusions, we need to dig deeper. How durable are these remissions really? What are the risks, the side effects, and, above all, can these therapies actually cure, or will cancer find a way back, as it so often does? In the next section, we'll unpack the hard data and untangle the economic and ethical dilemmas looming over the future of cancer treatment. But before we do, take a moment and ask yourself, if a miracle cure did exist, would everyone really get it? Or are we about to discover that the war on cancer is as much about money and access as it is about medicine? Let's pick up where we left off. The world's eyes are on Gilead and Kite's blockbuster presentations. Hope is in the air, headlines are glowing, and a select group of patients is already experiencing longer lives and better days. But when the applause fades, the truly tough questions remain. What happens next? Who gets left behind? And just how much are we willing to pay to push the boundaries of science? Imagine a world in which a diagnosis of triple-negative breast cancer or relapsed multiple myeloma is no longer a near-certain death sentence, but instead a battle with real chances of victory. That's the future these therapies dangle before us. The data is beginning to shape the narrative. In the ASCENT-04 clinical trial, patients with inoperable PD-L1 positive triple-negative breast cancer who received Trodelvy with Keytruda had significantly longer progression-free survival than those treated with standard care. For them, the future feels different, an extra few months or even years of precious time. But optimism must be tempered with realism. Let's look closer. ASCENT-04's results are undeniably a win, statistically significant, clinically meaningful. Yet the median progression-free survival is counted in months, not years. In the IMAGINE-1 study for multiple myeloma, the numbers are dazzling. An overall response rate of 97%, with 68% achieving complete or stringent complete remission. But what happens after those first thrilling responses? How durable are these remissions? Can they withstand the relentless ticking of the cancer clock? The hard truth is, long-term data simply doesn't exist yet. As Dr. Dietmar Berger of Gilead Sciences puts it, by addressing this aggressive and difficult-to-treat disease earlier, we can potentially improve treatment options. Potentially is the key word. Will these be fleeting victories, or the foundation of a new status quo in cancer care? And then, there's the question of who benefits. Triple-negative breast cancer strikes disproportionately at those who are young, Black, or Hispanic, and often less able to access cutting-edge healthcare. Multiple myeloma and glioblastoma, too, do not discriminate, but our healthcare systems do. Even if Trodelvy, anito-cel, or next-generation CAR T-cells are miracles in a vial, how will they reach the people who need them most? To understand the human face of this breakthrough, Let's meet Sophia, a 44-year-old mother of two who was diagnosed with metastatic triple-negative breast cancer last year. Standard treatments began to fail her. Then, as part of a trial, she received the Trodelvy plus Keytruda combination. 6 months later, her scans showed dramatic shrinkage of her tumors. "It was as if I was given a second chance," she says. But even Sophia knows her fight isn't over. The uncertainty around future progression, side effects, and whether her insurance will continue to cover this costly regimen hangs over every good day. These are the stories that define the next stage of innovation. Hope, held in tension with fear and financial strain. For every Sophia, there are thousands who won't get into a trial, can't afford a breakthrough drug, or who live in countries where such therapies remain unavailable. Let's talk access. CAR T-cell therapies and antibody-drug conjugates are notoriously complex and expensive to produce. Manufacturing a single dose of a personalized therapy like anito-cel can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Moreover, these therapies require advanced hospital infrastructure, specialized staff, and a highly orchestrated supply chain. The result? A bottleneck that leaves only a privileged subset of patients eligible for a potentially life-saving shot. That brings us to a deeper dilemma, the economic and ethical crossroads ahead. If these therapies truly move the needle on survival and quality of life, should we as a society accept these sky-high costs? Or should we demand broader access, even if it means slowing the pace of innovation or accepting some financial risks? Governments, insurers, and companies like Gilead and Arcellx are already working behind the scenes to hammer out reimbursement models that can walk this tightrope. But, as with many new medical miracles, the solutions are unevenly distributed. One oncologist, Dr. Javier Cortez, put it bluntly, "Traditional chemotherapy has been the standard of care for early treatment of metastatic triple-negative breast cancer. Now we stand at the threshold of something better, but the door isn't open for everyone yet." And still, the science races forward. At this year's meetings, researchers from the University of Pennsylvania unveiled next-generation CAR T-cell constructs that target not one, but two proteins on glioblastoma cells. This dual-target approach helped at least one patient achieve a remission that lasted longer than any prior therapy had managed. It's early, and these are often N-of-1 anecdotes, but each success rewrites what we believe is possible. All of this points to a future in flux. What if, in 10 years, off-the-shelf CAR T-cells, manufactured in advance, not custom-made for each patient, become reality? What would it mean for cost, speed, and global access? Or imagine therapies where a patient's own immune cells are programmed, not in a hospital, but at their local clinic, slashing wait times from weeks to days. This is no longer science fiction. Clinical trials for so-called allogeneic or off-the-shelf cell therapies are underway, and early data hints at lower costs and broader accessibility. But risks remain high. Will these ready-made cells work as well and as safely as bespoke therapies? We also have to contend with the realities of biology. Cancers, especially those as aggressive as triple-negative breast cancer and glioblastoma, have a nasty habit of evolving resistance. The moment a therapy becomes standard of care, cancer cells start learning new tricks to evade it. This arms race underscores a key point. There will never be one magic bullet. Instead, the future will be built from combinations, iterations, and relentless scientific hustle. And what about the big picture? If Gilead and Kite's therapies set a new bar, competitors will rush in. Prices might fall, access could improve, or the opposite might happen, an innovation arms race that further drives up costs. We could see a future where the world's best therapies are rationed, not by biology, but by bank account and zip code. So, what does all this mean for you? Whether you're a patient, a family member, a healthcare professional, or just someone rooting for science. First, these advances teach us that real change comes not just from scientific discovery, but from the hard, unglamorous work of building systems that deliver innovation equitably. Policy matters. Advocacy matters. The price of a drug may be set in a boardroom, but the value of a life is realized in a hospital room, a family kitchen, a tearful embrace. Second, there's a practical lesson that affects us all. Know your options. If you or a loved one faces a cancer diagnosis today, the options are changing faster than ever before. What was impossible yesterday may be possible now or next month. Clinical trials, second opinions, and patient advocacy are no longer luxuries but necessities in navigating this maze of modern cancer care. Here's how you can use this information. Ask your doctor about clinical trials, even early phase studies. Don't assume you're out of options just because the first therapy fails. For diseases like triple-negative breast cancer or multiple myeloma, being treated at a center that participates in research could open doors to therapies nobody else can offer. And if you're a policy watcher, a health worker, or an advocate, push for more investment in infrastructure, manufacturing capacity, and health equity. The breakthroughs of tomorrow depend on the groundwork we lay today. And let's remember the human factor. Behind every press release and investor call are patients like Sophia, whose lives are defined by how quickly these miracles become mainstream. This is personal. It's about time, dignity, and hope. So, as we close, let's answer the question we began with. Will these advances truly revolutionize cancer care, or will they be another missed opportunity, reserved for the few? The answer, for now, sits on a knife's edge. The data is real. The potential is transformative. But the revolution will only be as broad, as just, and as lasting as the systems we build to support it. If we act, if we demand access, invest in research, and never settle for inequity, then yes, these therapies may well redefine cancer care for a generation. But if we become complacent, dazzled by headlines but blind to the barriers, we risk repeating the mistakes of the past. Innovation that lifts a chosen few, while millions are left behind. Here's the secret fact. As stunning as these new therapies are, their greatest impact may come not from what they do in the body, but from how they force us to rethink what's possible, in science, in policy, and in compassion. Every breakthrough is an invitation, not just a celebration. So stay informed, stay curious, and if you found this video insightful, share it with someone who needs hope, or who can help turn hope into action. Subscribe for ongoing updates as we track these and other breakthroughs, and let's